Bingo.
Ellie, come on. Go.
The first Last of Us game is one of my favorite games of all time. I have it top 3 on my list. So when I found out HBO is making a live action series adaptation of the first game, I was excited but carefully optimistic. However, after seeing great video game adaptations such as Arcane and the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, that careful optimism turned into pure excitement. In this video, I'd like to discuss 7 things I would like to see in the first season of The Last of Us TV show. But before we start, if you never played The Last of Us games, this is your spoiler warning. So don't continue watching this video if you haven't played those games first. The first thing I would like to see in The Last of Us series is more time before the outbreak. The show should start like the game did. It needs to start right before the outbreak of the cordyceps virus. It doesn't have to be on the night of the outbreak like in the game, but it can be a few days before. A few days before the outbreak in the show, rather than a few hours like in the game, would be great. This would give us more time with Joel and Sarah, which I think is important in the context of the TV show. The game only spends a few hours before the outbreak, but it does a great job showing Joel and Sarah's relationship. When the player is given control at the start of the game, you first play as Sarah and experience the outbreak as you control her until the car crash.
There! Hold on! Go!
Then, when she dies later on, that scene hits the player hard emotionally. I believe this is because the game does an amazing job establishing the relationship between Joel and Sarah from the start. You, the player, get to see how close they are and how they joke around with each other when Sarah gives Joel his birthday gift.
It's nice, but I think it's stuck. It's not...
What? No. Oh, ha.
You get to know Sarah as you control her at the beginning of the game. You see how scared she is when the world she knew is falling apart around her. You see Joel doing what he can to protect her, and ultimately fail in the end. So, when you see him holding her lifeless body, you, the player, feel a punch to the gut and begin to cry as Joel does.
Stay with me. I want to pick you up. I know, baby. I know it hurts. Come on, baby. Please. I know, baby. I know. Sarah. Baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Come on. No. Please. Please don't. Please.
This part all works perfectly in the context of the game, and is only a little over 30 minutes depending on how you play the game. However, if you spend that amount of time with characters in a TV show, you don't feel as connected to the characters. For the TV show, I feel like it would be best if the show starts a few days before the outbreak. This would give the writers more time to establish and flesh out Joel and Sarah's relationship, and give the viewers more time to get to know them. Maybe like an episode or 2. Establishing and fleshing out Joel and Sarah's relationship is crucial to make her death later on have the same emotional impact like the game. Sarah's death is an important part in Joel's character development, and it needs to be done right. I can't stress that enough. It needs to be done right. Otherwise, it would make the story have less emotional impact and weight. Before I continue, I just want to say that Sarah's death should not be shown in a flashback at all. I'm hoping and praying this doesn't happen. It would just ruin the pacing of the story. The flashbacks that I would like to see in The Last of Us TV show would be of Joel and Tommy surviving within that 20-year time jump. The game never shows what they had to do to survive after the outbreak, but it was referenced several times. For example, Joel hints he used to be a bandit when they are attacked by that bandit faction after getting the car from Bill.
Easy.
Please!
Holy shit. Are we gonna help him?
Put your seatbelt on, Ellie.
Well, what about the guy?
He ain't even hurt.
He says he knew that man wasn't hurt because he used to do what they did. In the show, it would be really cool to see Joel and Tommy at this stage in their life. It would be a good opportunity for the show's writers to show how brutal Joel was and how brutal he could be. It would be a great opportunity to show what Joel and Tommy had to do to survive when their world was crumbling and changing around them. Flashbacks would be cool, but it shouldn't, and I repeat, it shouldn't be used constantly, and it should only be used to develop and flesh out the characters. Another adaptation of a zombie game that I played recently had constant flashbacks, and it was just a big mess. But that's a video for another day.
What the hell is even that?
While we're on the topic of flashbacks, we need to talk about one of the most important flashbacks from The Last of Us Part 1 story, the Left Behind DLC. The show's trailer confirmed the show will adapt this DLC when it showed Riley and Ellie on the merry-go-round. I have no doubt in my mind that the Left Behind DLC would be adapted and executed perfectly. However, this flashback needs to happen at the right time. It shouldn't interrupt the pacing of the story at all. The best time for this flashback to happen would be at the same time it's shown in the first game story. Right at this part.
Stay the fuck back! Joel. Put your arm around me. Come on. I think we're safe. Joel? Joel? Shit. Joel, here.
This flashback needs to be seen at the exact moment when Ellie is alone, surviving on her own, taking care of an injured Joel, and recalling her past. This flashback is very important because it shows the exact moment when Ellie was bitten. This is a perfect time for the TV show to flesh out her character more and to depict how the moment she was bitten affected her emotionally and mentally moving forward.
You know, we could be all poetic and just lose our minds together.
What's option 3?
Sorry. Come on. Let's get out of here.
The Last of Us games are brutally violent. The violence made combat and every enemy encounter intense. The Last of Us Part 2 especially was way more brutal than Part 1. Limbs and body parts were torn from enemies' bodies. Enemies bled out on the floor. You can hear enemies call their comrades' names as you kill them. The show should match this brutality and intensity. There needs to be the Walking Dead levels of violence and gore, and the series should not be too afraid to show it. The TV show is airing on HBO, so I have no doubt in my mind they would be too shy to show any gore and violence. I mean, HBO did Game of Thrones, and that show could be very, very brutal. A brutal part that comes to mind is this part in Season 4's episode.
Say it! Ellie Martel!
Every time I encountered the infected in the game, I was filled with dread. Their unpredictability and type variety made them terrifying to fight and encounter. In the show's trailers, we see glimpses of a clicker and a bloater, and they look amazing. I mean, the CGI is on point. My hope is that the infected are portrayed in a way that strikes the viewer with dread, like how they did to the player in the game. One way to portray the infected would be to have them appear sparingly in the TV show. This would create a sense of unfamiliarity for the viewer. That way, when they are shown on screen, the viewer is filled with a sense of dread. There's nothing scarier than the fear of the unknown. However, if the infected are portrayed in this way, there needs to be a good balance. They shouldn't appear too much to where we get desensitized to seeing them on screen, or too little to where we barely see them appear. I have my concerns, but I'm optimistic and have faith the show will do the infected justice in the TV show. The last thing on this list, and the most important thing, and this should be obvious, is Joel and Ellie's relationship. Their relationship is the heart of the game. It's the lifeblood of the story. Without their relationship, there is no Last of Us, in my opinion. If it's not done right, the story shouldn't be adapted at all. The series needs to properly portray all stages of their relationship, as it was shown in the first game story. It needs to show how cold Joel and Ellie were to each other when they first met. We need to see how that relationship evolves and changes over the course of the series. It's very, very important for there to be chemistry between the two characters in the show, so their on-screen relationship doesn't feel forced and feels genuine. I already said this, but if this part of the story or the show isn't adapted correctly, there is no reason for the show to exist. Without the lifeblood of the story, it is dead, and no one wants to watch or engage in a story or characters without life. So that's my list of things I would like to see in the Last of Us series. If I don't see some of these things in the show, it won't make me view the show in a negative light at all. I'm open to the new things the show will bring to the characters and to the story. Let me know in the comments below, are you excited to see the show? Do you agree with the points I made in this video? Feel free to let me know. Just be nice. Just kidding, say whatever you want. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Honestly, this is the first time I've made a video like this, and I'm planning on making more stuff like this in the future. I'm thinking about doing a video about The Last of Us show once the first season is done airing, and maybe I'll do a video on what I would like to see from the second season of this show. Well, that's if they don't split the first game story into 2 seasons. Anyways, thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Later.